welcome back to another episode of Extraordinary Women, the season finale, actually. And I have a very special guest with me, someone that I grew up with in my small hometown of Hanover, Miss Shania Garber. How are you? How have you been? What's up?
Good. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for asking me to be here. Doing pretty good. Love it in Tennessee. Love it. Been here 7 years now. Don't want to go back, to be honest. I'm doing great. I'm a lead dental assistant now. Okay. I just got a promotion a little bit ago, so I run my whole dental office, and I even technically am the boss above all the assistants at the other locations as well. So I'm really loving it. I just totally moved to this new area, and whatever just didn't work for me, just kind of shoved it out and just went with where I wanted to. I mainly just work 24/7. And when I'm not working, I'm working on myself, self-love, and I read tarot cards. And I also do positive affirmations, and I like to influence positive quotes out there into the world when I can.
Talk to me a little bit about your content, this calling that you have to inspire. You said you read, you said tarot cards, how are they pronounced?
Tarot cards, yeah.
Tarot cards. So talk to me a little bit about that. How does that work? I've never known anyone to actually use those before, but I've always been curious about how they work. So talk to me a little bit about that and the affirmations that you put out there to your followers.
Okay. So with my tarot cards, I actually started getting into those from a lot of people that start reading tarot actually go through a huge traumatic experience, and they are trying to find some type of hope, some type of faith. Like they're in a spot where I went through a time. I've always went to church. I grew up going to church every Sunday. I went to vacation Bible school growing up too. But I went through a period of time where I was questioning God and I was questioning my faith. And I was really losing that. And I needed it terribly. So I didn't know what to do. And my one friend came up to me and she was like, listen, I really think you should go talk to this lady. She reads tarot cards. A lot of people think it's scary, but I really think you should experience that. And I think it would help you. So I was like, whatever, I'll try anything. So I did. I tried it, and she brought back so much faith into my heart and so much hope and joy and everything. It was like goosebumps everywhere, like such a spiritual, vibrational energy surrounding me and hugging me, just knowing that everything was going to be okay. So I got so inspired. I wanted to do that for other people. So I started to learn tarot cards and the meanings behind them. I learned about astrology, numerology, different angel numbers and what they mean and everything like that. And in all of that, it has found me comfort and security. I still believe in God. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think that since I read tarot cards, I'm not a Christian and whatnot, but I believe in New Age spirituality. So technically it is a form of Christianity. It's just a little different. We believe in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit in general.
You also experienced a very hard, sudden loss in your life as well, very recently. How are you still coping with that? And how does reading the tarot cards, I saw you make a post about it actually on Instagram when you read the tarot cards, and you shared it, and it was an answer for you about this person. If you don't mind, please tell us who this person was that suddenly passed away, and how are you coping with knowing that this person is, just at peace now?
So, in June, I want to say I went to go check on my sister because we were worried. Me and my sister growing up, it was just us two. We were only two siblings, like you and your brother, right? It's just you two, right? Yeah. Okay. I thought so. Yeah. And she was actually in my sister's graduation class.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Because I remember he actually reached out and told me he was very sorry and everything. Yeah. And that touched me because it was nice to see not just people in our graduation class, but people in her graduation class as well. That was very nice.
I called him and I told him, and I said, I'm like, you may want to reach out, just reach out. Cause I know he knew your sister pretty well.
Yeah. They were in choir together, and yeah. So everyone was getting a little worried about her because she was she had a best friend, and her best friend had a boyfriend, and they weren't the greatest people. They were trying to get their life back on track. And she knows exactly how that is. She's had a few moments where she hit rock bottom and had to come back up, like everybody does. So she was trying to be a good friend and be there for her best friend. Well, she let them move in. And me and my sister are always close growing up. I'll talk to each other every day on the phone, if not every other day on the phone. And it went about 2 days and I didn't hear from her. And I started to get worried. And we all thought that she was going up home to Pennsylvania to visit the family, since that's what she put on Facebook. And it was about 16 hours went by, and it only takes about 13 hours to get home. So I was like, did she arrive? I called my parents and they said, no, she never showed up. And I said, okay, well, that's weird. I was like, I don't know if she even left. And they're like, well, go to her apartment and see if she left for Pennsylvania. Because we couldn't get a hold of her. She wasn't answering her phone, no text messages, nothing. So I went to check at her apartment, and I went through I knocked on the door, she didn't answer, and the door was cracked open a little bit. So I just walked through, and the whole apartment was a disaster. Like a huge fight went down. And my brother-in-law he got arrested for stupid stuff, and for like, he had like a speeding ticket he never paid and had a warrant. So he got arrested, something stupid like that. Mm-hmm. And he was in jail. And so I knew she was there alone, if not with those people who weren't the very greatest people. They were addicted to drugs and were not good. So when the door was cracked and there was a huge fight going on, at that moment, I forgot that my brother-in-law was in jail. And they've been together since they were like 15. So their relationship was sometimes toxic, and they would fight like that. So I was thinking, okay, they just got into a fight. Well, I went to walk out the apartment, and as soon as I got maybe 5 feet from the front door, I heard my sister's voice behind me, and I heard her say, check the bathtub. Like it was nothing. Like, check the bathtub.
A spiritual voice.
Yeah. Like it literally sounded like she was like coming from here.
Okay.
Like it was coming from above, but down behind me.
Okay.
Like that. And I was like, someone was whispering in my ear. And I was like, okay. So I turned around, not without even thinking, just turned the hell around and went into the bathroom and turned the light on. And that's when I found her wrapped up in a shower curtain and brutally murdered and thrown in the bathtub. I always thought growing up, if I would ever come, like watching movies and TV show and CSI, Las Vegas and stuff, I always thought that if I would come across something like that or find something like that, I would scream and wouldn't be able to stop. And I didn't. To be honest, I froze. And what was crazy is the very first thing I noticed out of everything was she had the cutest, tiniest little feet. And that was the very first thing I saw, was her cute little feet. And I instantly trailed from her feet all the way down to her head. And I instantly just threw the shower curtain off of her and grabbed her and hugged her. Because I could tell that had been gone for at least 24 hours. The way that her color of her skin was, and the feel of her. Mm-hmm. And I instantly ran out of the apartment building, and I called 911, and I waited for the police to get there, and they started questioning me, asking me if I knew who she lived, if anyone else lived there. It was it was still daylight. It was in the evening. I just literally got off a date. I just started seeing this one guy, and we were talking maybe going on like our 4th date. And I asked him to run me over there. So not only did I feel bad at the fact that, because he didn't go in the apartment or anything with me, but he drove me there. So I instantly felt bad for putting him in a circumstance like that.
Yeah.
But I ended up having to go to the police station, and I didn't leave the police station because I was identifying people until about 1:00 in the morning. And then I had to, while I was still there waiting for them to finish taking pictures and fingerprinting everything at her apartment, I remember having to call my parents and make that phone call. And that itself was just as bad as finding her, having to sit there and tell them, your firstborn daughter, your firstborn child is gone and was brutally murdered. And the baby of the family had to deliver the news. The screams from my parents' voices, I still hear them to this day. They still hit my core. But I remember, and it was all during COVID. Mm-hmm. So when like the next day, the police called me and they said that they got all the evidence that they needed out of the apartment, and that we wouldn't be able to get a cleanup crew out there for about 3 weeks because of COVID. They were so far behind. Mm. And I said, well, that's not going to work because my parents are on their way down right now to cremate her. And I just got off the phone with the DA. I had to call the DA to try to get my brother-in-law out of jail so everyone could say their goodbyes before we cremated her. Mm-hmm. And because in the state laws you have to pay a permit to move a body through state lines. So we would had to have paid 4 permits to move my sister's body and bury her in the ground. So we decided to just cremate her and then transport her to Pennsylvania and bury her ashes that way. So that way it would just be cheaper on the whole family. Mm-hmm. And I told the police, I was like, well, am I able to clean the mess up? Because I don't need my parents seeing what I seen. I don't need my brother-in-law seeing what I seen, because I know my parents. I know the way that they think. I know my brother-in-law. I know the way that he thinks. And to be honest, I was already screwed. I've seen it. I witnessed everything. Like I can't erase those images from my head.
See it. Yeah, you can never unsee
exactly. It. But they don't need to see it, because if my brother-in-law would have sat there and seen what I saw, he would have killed himself. And I'm not going to lie at all. He would have. And then my 4 nephews would not have a father either. My parents would have sat there and felt guilty for letting my sister, like not stopping my sister from moving down here to Tennessee and not being around family, or would have felt guilty for not moving down here and following us and putting her in a situation where she was surrounded by dangerous people. And that happened because parents, especially you being pregnant right now, what's your main focus is to protect your child. Yeah. And they felt they couldn't protect her. So I didn't need them feeling all those emotions on top of seeing all of that. So I went to the store and I got so many cleaning products that I possibly could. And I went to her apartment and I scrubbed all the blood everywhere, all the blood up from everywhere. And it was funny is when I first went into the apartment, there was a broken candle in the bedroom and I thought it was red candle wax, and it wasn't. And that's probably at the time why I didn't think there was anything wrong until I heard her say, check the bathtub. And the moment I saw all the blood in the bathroom, I knew that was blood in the bedroom then. And so I had to clean up all of that and made her apartment nice and pretty, like she would have had it as if my parents were coming to visit like normal, because it's bad. I mean, I might have did it too selfishly because I knew how bad I needed my parents. I knew how bad I needed my brother-in-law too, because no one else would understand what it is that I was feeling but them, because they were experiencing it too. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want them to leave me. I was being selfish. So I was like, no, I'm not going to literally have any reason for anyone to see or anything, so that way they wouldn't take their own life, or they wouldn't do something then that would hurt me, or not be able to have them to have as support, which is also in a way kind of selfish, but not, because I was doing it for a good reason, because I also know I need them as my support, but also I know that they didn't need to see any of that. Yeah. So going through all of that, it really, I go through different emotions every day. It's like my therapist told me, and I had to get put back on. I didn't have to I always thought, like, I was afraid I was going to end up having to go back to the mental institution, but I didn't. I just went to therapy and I got put back on my meds that I was supposed to be put on. Now, thank God, I have went through enough therapy and I don't take any meds at all, not even anxiety meds. I just meditate. I do my natural healing things that I need to do. But I remember he told me that because I experienced such a home-hitting traumatic experience, everything, I was like a new baby, technically. My emotions were going to be different. The way that they would fluctuate would be different. the way that how sometimes I would be able to eat and then I'd instantly throw up because of how bad my anxiety was. He said, the way that you think now is totally different. The way that you're going to view things are different. Everything is the way that you love someone, the type of friend that you are is completely different. And it's completely true. I'm a different daughter. I'm a different aunt than what I was. And I'm a different friend. And I'm definitely a different person when it comes to the dating world now too, just because of that experience. It's kind of like losing a sibling, especially because my sister was like my ride or die. We were so close.
Yeah.
It's kind of like my therapist told me it was like losing a limb. You still feel that you have that limb. You still feel it, like it's still here, but you can't touch it. You can't talk to it. You can't. And it's so true. Like it literally does. That connection is still here. That love is still here. And it's weird. I feel her every day. Mm-hmm. I sense her in so many different places. I remember after we got her cremated, I picked her ashes up from the funeral home and I felt her in my car with me. I know her ashes were there, but I actually felt her like as if she was sitting in the passenger seat, and I instantly just put my hand over, and I instantly thought and knew she was sitting there holding my hand. Like we were holding hands as I was driving.
Yeah.
And I'll find like when we're all together as a family too, like so when all four of my nephews and me and my parents are together, we start in the mornings, we'll smell pancake syrup because that was her favorite thing to do breakfast wise was pancakes. So we'd smell pancake syrup, and then we'll see the lights flicker and know that she's here. Also I'll see like numbers like 333, 1111, 777, and they're angel numbers, and those numbers have meanings behind them. And when I'm at a time where I'm thinking about her and I see that number, I know that it's her saying, I'm right here with you. I haven't gone anywhere. I'm right here. I recently went to Panama City and went on vacation for a week, which was much freaking needed, to be honest. I was so stressed from just working so much and just being busy. Mm-hmm. I remember me and my sister used to go all the time, summer, to the beach, Ocean City. It's only 4 hours away, day trip, baby, you know? Yeah. I would just have a blast. And every morning at the beach, I would wake up which is kind of silly because I was on vacation, but I'd wake up at 6 a.m. every morning and I'd walk out to the beach and I'd walk along the beach and find myself some seashells and watch the sunrise and just have a nice me moment, you know? Mm-hmm. And there's a few times at the beach, throughout the whole process of her, since I found her until now, whenever I'm thinking about her or talking about her with someone, I could be walking down a path or on a hike or something, and I find a feather. And the color of that feather represents something and means something. And at first it was black feathers. And the feathers were saying, you just went through a traumatic experience. You just went through a loss or a grief, or you're depressed and you have a lot of anxiety going on. No, just keep pushing forward. You can do this. God is telling you, you can do this. Don't lose faith. You'll have faith. And then later I started to find black and gray feathers. And those represent, just keep doing it. You're almost there. Literally, you see the light at the end of the tunnel. Just keep pushing. So I did. And then as I was at the beach, walking down, finding seashells, I found a white feather. And it was my first white feather. And I was actually sharing a story about my sister to my friend. And I was sharing this story and I look down and I see this feather and I'm like, oh, I wonder what this white feather means. So I instantly went and to find what white feathers represent and what your angels are trying to tell you. And it meant that all of the hard work that I have put in has paid off, that I am finally at a time where I am healed and I am at a healthy grieving spot where it's not like where if I think about it, I'll be in my bed for 2 days straight. It's where I can think about it, talk about it, and smile, knowing that I went through all of that and came out the other side better than ever. Right now, and that I didn't let that stuff get me down. Yes, exactly. And that in that moment, and it also said that your loved one is standing there with you right now in this moment. And I just started crying. I was so happy because with that, it was just confirmation. That little feather was just confirmation to me that yes, Shania, because I heard so many people tell me through going through all of that, about how strong I was and how like they wouldn't have been able to do what I did. They wouldn't have been able to clean that mess up. They wouldn't have been able to be strong for my parents and for my nephews and to keep myself well put together the way that I did. And to me, I felt like I should have been doing more. Like I wasn't strong enough and that but in reality, I really was. And I was taking my own strength for granted. And when I found that white feather, I realized how strong I actually was and how I wouldn't have been able to have done all of that if I didn't really believe that she was there with me. And because she is.
Yeah. You know, uh tonight I'm so inspired by you
Thank
right
you.
now. I really am, because I would have thought the same thing that other people probably think. I wouldn't have been able to do it. I wouldn't be able to do what you do, or what you had to do. But as I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you talk, two things came to mind. Um, First thing that came to mind was your sister and the role that she played in this tragic situation. Um, in a way, I'm looking at it as she played such a vital, empowering role. Um, Not even just being a good Samaritan trying to help a friend, but literally, God chose her to help someone that really needed the help.
Yeah.
And God always chooses his strongest warriors for the toughest battles.
Yes, he does.
And I'm sure no one, not even her, would have thought it would have turned out the way that it did. But the fact when you said you found her and you just, it wasn't like anything you would experience like Criminal Minds or Forensic Files. It was just more of like you just froze, but it was also kind of like a feeling of peace almost.
Mm-hmm.
I have no
I just
doubt
wanted to
in my mind.
comfort her.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have no doubt in my mind that you felt that, because deep down your spirit knew that her soul was doing such a good deed. Like, God
Yes.
told her, your work is done. Now, why he chose to have her life end the way that it did, I don't know. We'll never understand that. That's not meant for us to understand.
No, it's
But
not.
it's the fact that he literally said, your work here is done.
And that is another thing too that I will say, if it was because I knew my sister's life and I knew her trials and tribulations for with God and with life and everything she was going through at that point in her time and like in life and the way that she believed and how she felt on herself.
Yeah.
I instantly was just filled with like peace too, because I knew her struggle was over.
Yeah.
The depression she was going through, the anxiety she was going through, the way that she thought about herself and how she put herself down, the 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 struggle that she was going through with like, because she did have a moment where she was addicted to drugs, and because of that she lost her kids, but she was working on getting her kids back. She was literally doing everything that she could. She was at that part where she's about to receive all the rewards of her hard work, and that happened. But at the end of it too, even though she didn't get to receive that, I felt like she was just at peace. All that hard work, everything that she's like, all of that sadness and the way that she thought was just gone and filled with positive things. Because when you pass over, and at least the way that I believe with New Age spirituality is when you pass over, you are surrounded and filled by those that you love and that have already passed on, and with your God and your angels, and they are literally there to comfort you and to welcome you, and it's just the most uplifting, most positive vibrational feeling in the world. So I was just grateful that she didn't have to experience the evil and the negativity of this world anymore.
Right.
And she was just at unlimited peace.
Right. And the thing with you too, I mean, you say in a way, maybe it was just you being selfish, wanting to protect your family because you needed them too at this time. But I also thought it's like, no, that what you chose to do and cleaning that mess up and taking care of your sister so that way no one in your family would have to see or experience what you experienced, that much trauma. That again, that was God again using you to just shield that trauma from everybody else in your family. The hurt and the pain that your brother-in-law would feel, the pain that your mother and your father would feel, the pain that your nephews, it's all boys, right? Your nephews would feel. I just sat here and just thought all of that, like, my God, he really used both. He used both of these girls in a way that all of us need to really take into consideration, that he can just call us home at any time, and he can just decide our work is done at any time. And if you leave this earth today and you feel like you did a good deed, by protecting someone else or inspiring someone else, then you have done your part as literally a warrior who now your sister died as a warrior, but now is literally an angel. Like, her wings are so full, and she is literally, as you put it, you feel her with you all the time. She is literally with you all the time. And they say that angels, the way that they describe them, their wings are huge. Their wings are really, really strong. And they're sharp. They're really sharp too. You had that accident, I strongly believe that was your sister wrapping those large wings around your car so that you did not suffer any kind of pain or any type of other tragic pain or anything like that.
No, I literally didn't even have a broken bone out of it. And if you would have seen my car, you would have thought I would have died. It was bad. Yes. And she protected me, and I knew that she was there protecting me. And it's funny because that you actually bring that up, because after there's this, like you said in the beginning, how you find people in your life that are supposed to come around to uplift you and give you kind of little spiritual, vibrational, uplifting moments. And after my car accident, I have this one lady at work, and I kind of look at her as like my work mom. And she said something to me like, see, right there is an example of how your sister can do more powerful things in the position she is now as a spirit and an angel than what she would have been able to do as a human here on this earth. And right there, I was just like, you were so right. Because even though I miss her, even though I physically can't touch her or hear her or see her, she can do so much more amazing things for me in my life now, being in the spirit realm and as my spirit guide and my angel, than she would have as a human here on earth. And you have to remember that too. Like, they might not physically be here for you, but that doesn't mean they're not working their ass off in the background to make sure that you do get everything that you want, because you are working so hard on yourself.
Right. Oh man, that's just, it's, again, it's tragic the way, it had to end, but at the same time, I almost want to cry right now, but not in crying like a way of sadness, but cry in a way of just, like, my God, it just, you just feel so empowered when you hear this story, and when you hear how you cope through this, when you listen to how you helped others through this, and how you're helping others right now find peace. You know,
Yes.
this was all meant to happen the way that it did. And
Yes. And there's no such thing as coincidence. Everything has happened for a reason, and everything, because if I wouldn't have been gone through everything that I've went through, I wouldn't be able to literally change and make that one little tiny spark in someone's life that can make that one spark for the better. Like, and it's so true. And I just love getting like, it just makes me feel so happy, and I get so much reward out of just being able to help someone by sharing some of my coping mechanisms, which,
right.
to be honest, I do a lot of meditation, and I do a lot of spiritual baths, which really all it is just a bubble bath that you take 10 minutes for yourself. You can listen to your favorite music. You can listen to a guided affirmation, like a guided meditation with affirmations in it. 10 minutes a day, really just putting energy into yourself
Yeah.
makes the hugest difference. Like, there's been so many times where I have been so sad and upset at the fact that I lost my sister. And like, especially when there's like moments where I just got a promotion and I wanted to share how proud I was of myself, and my sister wasn't there for me to call and tell her, I would get down and I'd get sad, especially if I'd sit there and think, like, when I do go to have kids, my kids won't have an aunt like my nephews have me. Things like that, little thoughts. Whenever they start to get me down, I sit there and I'll put 10 minutes into myself. I'll do a meditation. I'll take a bubble bath. I'll watch one of my favorite TV shows that I know is going to make me laugh and make myself feel better. I even sit there and get in my car and take like a little 20-minute drive, jamming out, singing with my lungs full blown, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's something that right there, if you do that 10 minutes, that will get you out of, even though you feel you don't want to and you just want to stay in that sadness, just do it. Just get those 10 minutes and love
Right.
yourself, because those 10 minutes do amazing things for you. And literally, you could end up getting up, reorganizing your whole house, going out, having dinner with your friends, instead of laying in bed for the past 3 hours crying. Like, you really think that does damage on your soul? Yes, you need to cry, you need to let it out. But after you're done, you need to do something to uplift yourself, or you're going to stay depressed. And you can't do that to yourself.
That's very true. That was actually going to be my next question too. How do you, what advice do you have for others that are coping with loss? And all of that you said is really good advice. You know, take some time to yourself when you find yourself in that moment of feeling down, feeling upset, and just depressed. You know, take that moment. Yes, cry, because crying cleanses the soul. It's
Yes.
nothing wrong with crying. It literally cleanses the soul. It's almost like, you know, putting a band-aid over an open wound, which
Yes.
sometimes as a wound is healing, it
Needs that
reopens
fresh air.
sometimes.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm glad that you said that. For anybody that's watching this episode that's coping with loss, tragic, sudden, or, you know, expected loss, you know, that's
Yes. And I know too, a lot of people feel, I know personally, I felt after seeing my sister, I didn't cry for of the first 2 days. I didn't cry, and I was afraid to cry, because I was afraid that if I started to cry, I wouldn't be able to stop crying.
yeah.
But you have to let yourself feel those emotions and know that it will end.
Yeah.
That sadness will end, and it will come back. It's
Yeah.
a roller coaster, and you have to learn that you don't have control over your emotions anymore, and you just got to feel what you feel, and to never, that is one thing, to never ever 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 look down on yourself for feeling the way that you feel.
You know, I don't know why, but this just stuck to me. You know, I'm every woman, and my superpower is what? What is your superpower?
So I actually came up with two,
Okay.
because I loved that so much. I was like, oh, I have a few for that. So I'm every woman, and my superpower is taking the negativity of my life to power me to be better. That is my one superpower, because it is so true. You got to take the negativity of life and everything that gets thrown out of you and use that as power to drive you to be better. And then my second one is in every woman. And I'm every woman, and my superpower is I see through bullshit and I don't accept it.
My mom is gonna love that one.
Yep.
I told her
I see through the bullshit and I don't accept it.
I told her I was interviewing you for this season, and she said, "Yeah, let me know how it goes." Oh my gosh, she's gonna love that one. I can't wait to tell her that. I'm gonna tell her specifically. She's got to make sure she watches this episode because she would love that. Because that's something she would say. That's something she would say full on. She is at, especially now. You know, she's in her 50s now. She's at that point, and she would say the same thing. But to hear it coming from a young person, oh my gosh, she's gonna get a kick out of that.
Yeah, because I ain't gonna lie, my friends sit there and say that all the time. They're like, "How are you that good? Like, you can see through all the bullshit." I'm like, nobody can pull the wool over my eyes. Either one, I'm sorry, but I wasn't always the best person in the world. Either one, I've done it. Two, watched it be done. Or three, heard about it being done. So like, no.
Yep. I agree. The one that I came up with it's only one. But I said I'm every woman, and my superpower is vulnerability. And the reason why I chose vulnerability, because growing up, I hated being vulnerable. I always saw it as a weakness.
When's your birthday again?
July 4th. I'm a Cancer.
Okay, so yeah, that makes sense. See, my sister was a Cancer.
Oh, that's right. She was.
Yeah.
I forgot she was a Cancer baby. Yes.
Yeah. When's your brother's birthday?
He's in April.
He's in April. Okay, so I don't know. I don't know why I was thinking he was an Aquarius like me. He's
an Aries.
Okay, yeah.
He's the other. That makes sense. He's the other A.
Yeah.
But yeah, I chose vulnerability because growing up, I really hated being vulnerable. I always looked at vulnerability as a way for, if someone knows you're vulnerable, then they know what exactly to attack. They know exactly how to attack. And so it would hurt me way more to not be vulnerable and not acknowledge my feelings than it would someone hurting my feelings and me going through that disappointment. So over the last few years, I've learned how to be super vulnerable, and I realized that my vulnerability, believe it or not, has inspired so many people. And I think I started to become vulnerable when I opened up about my miscarriage, and the feedback and the responses that I got from people about being open, being vulnerable, the thank yous and the appreciation that I got. I was like, you know what? This is it. You know, nothing wrong with vulnerability. So every time I'm vulnerable, you know, not only am I acknowledging my feelings and I'm allowing myself to feel. You said something earlier, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was something along the lines of not letting others make you feel bad for how you feel.
Yes.
How you feel. And I completely accept the fact that I am a vulnerable person now, and believe it or not, it helps people.
Yes, it does. It really does help people to be vulnerable. It really does. It's crazy to think, because if you think about it, God wants you to feel all of those emotions. He wants you to be vulnerable. He wants you to have that love and that kind, to be filled with the good emotions and everything, even the bad ones as well, because you got to have the bad with the good. But if someone sits there, and if you think that, like how you said earlier, if someone finds out my vulnerabilities, they'll be able to use that against me. What do you think God's going to make their consequences for doing that, though? So you be vulnerable, because if anything, you're going to come out the other end being better, because they're literally preying on a weak spot for you, and that is not okay at all in God's eyes.
Yeah, very true. So, Shania, thank you so much for joining me. This
Thank you for having me.
finale. This was a really great episode, probably one of the best season finales I think I've had, because it was such a raw, open discussion about so much. And I hope that someone that is going through something, whether it's tragic or something good, I hope they look at this and listen to this episode and they get some kind of empowerment from it. Before I let you go, please shout out all of your social media handles. Where can people find you if they need some tarot card reading? How can they get in touch with you?
So you can find me on YouTube. My name is Shania Tarot. You can also find me on my Instagram is Shania May 92. Facebook, just Shania Garber. I also have Shania's Tarot on there, but I usually answer Shania Garber before I'm still uploading and getting my business site up. And then my Instagram is very well known. Actually, I post a lot more on Instagram than anywhere. And that's where you can just go from mainly to follow me or message me. And that is at Shania May 92.
All right, everyone, please follow Shania. And if you need to get in touch with her, you know where to contact her. I will copy all of this and at the end of this episode so you can find her. Again, Shania, thank you so much for joining me. Ladies, thank you for joining me for this season of Extraordinary Women and Gentlemen. I know I have a few listeners out there that are males, and I appreciate you guys tuning in every time for every episode. Thanks again, Shania. Let's stay connected. I hope we can bring you back in the future.
Yes, I would love to.
Episodes.